The eccentric officer pulled the pin on a grenade, stopping among the training recruits. "Where's the little flying stick?" All recruits quickly fled and fell, except for the weakest one, who, disregarding danger, threw himself on it, using his body to hold down the grenade, trying to save his comrades with his own sacrifice. But the expected explosion didn't happen. Seeing the female CO's approving look, the recruit realized it was just a test. As the weakest in this special unit, Steve ranked last in every test, even trailing in the 28 kilometers loaded march. That day, the instructor gathered everyone under a flagpole, saying whoever could get the flag could ride back in the CO's car. The strong soldiers were eager to try, but the instructor had cleverly greased the pole. No one had succeeded in 17 years, but Skinny Steve, undeterred, confidently approached the pole, removed the pin, and knocked it down, easily picking up the flag from the ground, to everyone's amazement, and swagger into the female CO's jeep. Despite Steve's surprising tactical intelligence, he remained at the bottom of the military hierarchy, often bullied by teammates, because they all knew this scrawny recruit had connections and got in through the back door, failing 5 consecutive physicals and having every chronic condition imaginable. His mere presence at recruitment was a miracle. The interviewer unhesitatingly gave him the lowest score. Steve thought his military dreams were over, but Dr. Erskine's arrival gave him a chance. The doctor, tasked by the government to form a secret unit, planned to use super blood relatives to create super soldiers. Steve's wit and selflessness were exactly the qualities he'd been searching for. In him, the doctor saw another possibility for a super soldier. At this time, Steve did not know the doctor's decision would change his life. The next day, escorted by his female superior Carter, Steve and he arrived at a suburban antique shop. After a brief coded exchange, the owner opened the secret room passage. In this unassuming shop, there was actually a military lab, and Steve was the test subject. Under the military rep's watch, Steve quickly shed his clothes, lay in the equipment, helped secure the fixtures, inserted blue serums, and injected a small dose of super serum into his arm. As the doctor's countdown ended, the experimenter pulled the trigger, injecting all the super serum into his body. Stark immediately shut off the setup and turned on the Vita-Ray saturation hood. 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%. Steve finally couldn't bear the intense pain and cried out. Everyone's hearts were in their throats. Colonel Tate immediately ordered the experiment stopped, but Steve's voice came from the device. Stark also maxed out the device's power, outputting all the Vita rays at once. The equipment's brightness intensified. The console couldn't handle the overload and tripped, shutting down. As the light faded, the experiment ended. Everyone eagerly watched the table slowly open. The scrawny kid from before had transformed into a muscular, charming hunk. Even the female boss couldn't resist touching his pecs. Amidst the joy of success, the man in the corner pulled out a lighter and blew up the viewing platform above. After snatching the remaining serum in the chaos, 2 shots took out Dr. Eakins. He fled, causing mayhem. Steve rushed to check the dying doctor's wounds. With his last breath, he tapped Steve's chest, reminding him of his promise. The doctor took his final breath. Enraged, Steve bolted from the store, spotting Colonel Carter facing a gunman. Seeing her in danger, he saved his boss and sprinted through the city, leaping a fence and reaching the road. He grabbed the gunman's car mid-traffic. The shooter tried to shake him, but Steve's strong arm held firm. The gunman fired. Steve dodged, but a truck hit them, throwing Steve off. The gunman shot at Steve, who blocked with the car door. He then took a hostage, warning Steve to stay back. At the dock, he threw the child into water to stall Steve. Steve turned to see the gunman escaping in a submarine. He dove in, swam hard, caught up, smashed the window, and dragged the gunman ashore. But before Steve could question him, the man took poison and died. Just say it and die of poison. At this moment, Steve doesn't know that these inexplicable last words are the slogan of the supervillain organization Hydra. As Nazi Germany's secret department, under the leadership of Schmidt, it was committed to building weapons that Hitler despised. In a church in Norway, Odin's artifact, the Cosmic Cube, was obtained from the prophet's body. Schmidt studied the Cosmic Cube's weaponization with mad scientist Zora's help. He gently picked it up, put it in the reactor, and Zora slowly raised the energy limit. 40, 60, stabilizing at 70%. But this cautious experiment dissatisfied Schmidt. He grabbed the controls, turned the energy to maximum. Blue energy overflowed the reactor, filling the room. The device couldn't withstand the overload and exploded, but Schmidt got what he wanted. Pure Cosmic Cube energy. This incomparable power could change the German army's fate on the battlefield. But to the military, Schmidt's experiment was pure fantasy. To them, Schmidt was a fraud using research to swindle funds. Faced with these clueless representatives, Schmidt decided to test the new weapon on them. Unaware of the gravity, a representative threatened to report Schmidt, but couldn't laugh a second later. The new weapon shot each man, reducing the 3 to ashes on the spot. It verified the weapon's might and fueled Schmidt's desire. Sending the assassin to kill the doctor aimed to delay the Allies' progress, but exposed Schmidt to them. The military decided to send an elite squad to suppress the bandits. Steve volunteered but was coldly rejected by the general. Instead, the top brass felt Steve was useful and gave him a promotion and raise. You don't simply take a soldier, a symbol. If you want to serve your country, serve on the most crucial battlefield of war. Sir, this is exactly what I desire. Congratulations, you've just been promoted. And the most significant battlefield, according to the top brass, is to have him wear elaborate performance outfits, portraying the Captain America people imagine, surrounded by beautiful women, standing far from the actual battlefield, and repeatedly reciting lines of patriotism, like a wealthy businessman about to sell war bonds from Washington to Miami, from luxury theaters to the front lines. Performing day after day, he has completely turned himself into nothing more than a circus performer. Hey, Captain, sign this. In the eyes of the soldiers, he's merely a clown shouting empty slogans. To the top brass, he's just a convenient tool for shaking money. Even in his own heart, he sees himself as nothing more than a dancing monkey. Fortunately, Colonel Carter appeared just in time to alleviate his distress, but also brought him bad news. The squad that raided the Hydra base was wiped out, and most were captured, including Steve's best friend Bucky, who was considered too deeply positioned for the military to attempt a rescue. To save his comrades, Steve decided to venture alone into enemy territory. With Carter's assistance, he boarded Stark's four-man plane and flew stealthily over the POW camp. The airplane was soon detected by the German air defense system, unable to advance further amidst intense artillery fire. Steve had only the option to parachute and sneak in, quietly crawling into a supply vehicle, effortlessly neutralizing two escort soldiers, blending into the base bearing a huge American flag, boldly infiltrating the German base, navigating through the weapons warehouse to the prison holding the POWs, and overpowering the guards. Under the astonished gazes of the GIs, all the cages were opened, but after searching everyone, they didn't find their friend Bucky. At the moment, he's in solitary confinement, experimented on by Schmidt. Though rescued, long-term torture has left him hollow, his eyes devoid of spirit. Despite this, the American team didn't abandon him. He couldn't imagine that the friend he saved would bring such trouble in the future. Outside, soldiers broke through, launching a counterattack. They seized German high-tech weapons, making the enemy taste the fear of technological domination. Schmidt, watching from the control room, activated the base's self-destruct sequence. He couldn't let his equipment fall into Allied hands. As the countdown ended, the ammo depot exploded. The American team and Bucky, still inside, were thrown into the air. They encountered Schmidt fleeing. Enraged, the American team landed a powerful punch, deforming Schmidt's face. Schmidt tore off his human mask, revealing his true form. He was Dr. Erskine's original test subject. The early super serum was flawed. It gave him strength, but awakened evil thoughts, turning him into this inhuman creature. This is why he understands the serum's power best, and why he had to kill Dr. Erskine. Now with the cosmic cube, he ignored the team's attacks. He had more important matters to attend to. Steve escaped before the base exploded, rescuing surviving comrades. They returned to the US base with captured loot. At camp, all soldiers welcomed them. Those who mocked Steve now respected his achievements. His fearless sacrifice and combat skills earned everyone's admiration. At that moment, he truly became Captain America. At the victory celebration, all soldiers expressed their respect for him. Colonel Carter attended in a stunning red dress, catching Steve's eye. They agreed to be dance partners after the war. Little did they know this promise would make Carter wait a lifetime. With this remarkable feat, Steve gained access to the combat command room. To eradicate true evil, they must destroy all bases. But before departing, Stark prepared him a grand gift. This became the famous American team's shield. With Stark's weapons, teams won battles, gaining experience, skills improved. Enemies, hidden or massive, fell easily. Hydra bases vanished. Only one remained. Before destroying it, they needed to find Hydra's tech source. The key was Dr. Zola, Schmidt's associate. Intel said Zola was Berlin-bound. The team infiltrated the train. Empty train, doors shut. Zola had spotted them. Hydra's tech was fierce. The shield barely saved them. Bucky struggled alone against two foes. The American team arrived just in time, but artillery appeared behind them. Shield blocked one shot. Bucky fell. The team rushed to help. Bucky dangled precariously. The handle snapped. Both fell. Even the strong team had to accept this fate. Better to fulfill his wish. Capture Zola. Zola revealed. Hydra's tech came from Schmidt's cosmic cube. Now hidden in Hydra's last base camp, the general immediately orders to capture it. This mission is extremely dangerous. The US team decides to go alone, riding a motorcycle to the base. Soon, over a dozen heavily armed soldiers appear, flipping switches, releasing elastic ropes and securing them to tree stumps. He quickly takes out two slow soldiers, then uses his flamethrower. It instantly scorches the nearest pursuers, while others can only watch. Two enemies flank him, but he throws grenades at them. After easily defeating them all, a tank suddenly appears. The US team blocks the tank's fire with a shield, launches two missiles, destroying the tank. It crashes into the base on a slope, dodging soldiers' attacks, activating self-destruct and blowing open the main gate. Using the shield's defense and attack power, he weaves through crowds. Outnumbered, he's cornered by flamethrowers. A group of armed soldiers quickly surrounds him, bringing him before Red Skull. Facing this defeated opponent, Red Skull mockingly insults his incompetence, not just scolding but also punching him. Little does he know, it's all part of the plan. Suddenly, reinforcements break through windows, quickly subduing the enemy soldiers. Seeing trouble, Red Skull flees, gathering some allies along the way. The US team arrives but can't catch up. Their thrown shield gets stuck. Blocked by flamethrowers, he's forced to take cover without his shield. Luckily, Colonel Carter arrives, mowing down enemies with gunfire, allowing the US team to pursue. Red Skull has already entered his ship, inserting the cosmic cube into the energy pile, starting engines, aiming for New York. Seeing the escape attempt, the US team leaps onto an iron box, grabs chains, bypasses soldiers and rushes towards the bomber. But how could the two legs escape the aircraft engine? They could only watch each other drift away. In desperation, Colonel Carter drove in time to support, and the general stepped on the accelerator into the fuel tank. But the distance between the two sides is still widening, decisively pressing nitrogen to accelerate. The strong feeling of pushing the back made the car accelerate violently, and the American team got up directly and prepared to board the plane. "Go get 'em," the words fell. The car also came under the plane. The American team jumped and hugged the landing gear of the plane, followed the landing gear into the plane, and fixed on his eyes. There were several suicide bombers marked with the name of the city. Just when he was confused, he saw a few soldiers sitting in the cockpit wanting to step forward to stop it, but was pounced down by the small soldiers on the side. The shield also fell to the side. The pilot in the cabin also took the opportunity to throw himself out. The American team was also taken into the air. The pilot shook left and right, trying to throw the American team off the plane, but it was his comrades who were unlucky. Steve took the opportunity to open the hatch, threw the pilot out of the cabin, got into the plane by himself, rushed back to the bomber, retrieved his shield, and quietly entered the control room. But this huge room was empty. The Red Skull did not carry out a sneak attack on wood, so that the American team used the shield to block in time to save his life. Constantly getting closer to the other party, knocking down the weapon with his right hand, and the Red Skull was entangled together, the two who had also been injected with super serum. "You punched me with one leg, and it was impossible to tell the winner or loser when avoiding time." But in the fierce fight, the American team accidentally pressed the other side to the operating lever. The plane immediately dived down, and the two also fought together again because of weightlessness. Seeing that the plane was about to fall, the Red Skull kicked away the American team, turned on the automatic cruise mode, took out the energy gun and was about to kill the other party, but the marksmanship was poor. Not only did it not hurt the American team, but it was knocked down by the shield he threw and the energy controller behind him was smashed. This red skeleton that failed in his plan wanted to run away with the Rubik's Cube, but he didn't expect that the out-of-control Rubik's Cube burst out with powerful energy, instantly burning the red skeleton's arm and sending him to the unknown universe.